Good evening. Welcome to my study in my two-room house. So, in the news at the moment, we are getting lots and lots of talk of the driver shortage. Because suddenly we're so short of drivers. My God, everyone's gone home. So, let's start at the beginning. With a brief history, there's always really been a driver shortage to some degree or another, but when the EU brought in freedom movement for the new EE members, it largely solved it in the countries that applied it straight away, because a lot of countries didn't. We were one of only 2 or 3 countries, I think, that brought in freedom of movement for the Eastern European countries straight away. So now, like, the companies had like a vast pool of drivers they could call on, and they called on it extensively. First, to put bums on seats, but also because the other problem is homegrown drivers. I got a little bit, I'm not doing that, when it came to work. Like, we can all know of probably maybe still drivers now that whose favourite words are "I'm not doing that," or finding a reason not to do something. And to a certain extent, one of the lesser things is actually money. Some of them are paid the same as us, and others are not. They also often have a much stronger work ethic, and that's often because their families are away. So they might as well. It's a case of might as well work all the hours God sends, because they don't have a family to go home to. And as you know, I'm a huge EU fan, but I think implementing this whole freedom of movement thing then, I think it was 2007, wasn't it, for the Eastern European countries, was a massive mistake. I think it's basically what led to Brexit, because we did see a sea of employees coming over, and I'm not criticising them, they're not to be criticised. I've spent half my career working abroad, but yeah, it was just a mistake. They should have maybe tried, because that's the ultimate aim of the EU, isn't it? To bring all the countries up to the same level economically. And that's what they should have done. They should have kept it a few more years until their economic level was level with most of Europe. But yeah, like I say, I've not got a problem with the drivers who do it, because I've worked abroad. A lot of British drivers seem to have short memories. Once upon a time, before the Eastern European drivers came here, in the 80s and 90s mostly, but also up to 2000, entire companies abroad were British drivers. Like, for instance, when I started at Nolan's, it was one of South Wales' biggest employers, Nolan's. And HSF, another one, Nijmegen Depot, was pretty much 98% British drivers. So anybody criticising the Eastern Europeans for doing it now are just have short memories, basically. So yeah, I've got no problem with them doing that. But yeah, so that was all fine and dandy until the Brexit bomb went off. The problem is the employers have grown far too used to drivers who are only here to work and would often be paid cheaply. Capitalism is supply and demand, but that theory never seemed to work in this job. When something is scarce, prices should rise. The problem is, all these years ago, drivers started getting scarce, and then we just had this big influx, meant prices didn't rise because they didn't have to rise. So who knows where we'd be now with pay and terms and conditions if it wasn't for 2007. But going back to the driver shortage, I don't think it's anything as bad. I don't think it's anything as bad. What a confusing sentence. I don't think it's anything as bad as they say. It's all these companies basically are making a massive fuss now, and do you know why? Because most of them would quite like free movement back, because they just want the easy option. They just want the foreigners back, because they see it as the easy way out and the cheap way out. The problem is, if decent companies have never struggled for drivers. you'd think that companies that do struggle for drivers would see that and work by their example, but they don't seem to. It's actually almost as likely to get a bad job as a good job in this industry as a driver, because they never learn. They never take the example of others and implement it themselves. They just want bums on seats, cheapest possible, talk as little as possible. So if you're struggling for drivers, boo-hoo. Improve your employment package, and maybe people will want to work for you, because that's the ideal aim. You want people to work for you. Sorry, I'm just got some notes I'm reading. But yeah, so the companies that brought in all the Eastern European drivers did it for those reasons, for money, for ease, and everything. And now they're all crying the bells, because they have to work a bit harder. So yeah, basically the companies have been screwing us for years. The bad companies, so moan as much as you want. You bloody made this bed, you fucking lie in it. Get a bit of a taste of your own medicine, to trot out several cliches at once. Instead of burying your head on the sand, increase pay, increase terms and conditions, make drivers want to work for you. That's all there is to it. I want just to finally mention as well, young drivers, and again, this is companies being stupid. The transport industry short-term attitude is perfectly illustrated with young drivers. It's very hard to get a start in this job. It's like you're not a brain surgeon, you're a lorry driver. 2 years experience is tediously tried out over and over and over and over again. It took me 3 years to get my first job, and that was with an Irish company. And it's utter fucking bullshit. It's just lazy box ticking by companies, because they basically want to know that if anything goes wrong, they say, well, he had experience, we did our part. And it's like, instead of that, why don't you employ young drivers and bring them on, teach them in your ways, make sure they won't make mistakes because you've trained them well. But no, again, this transport industry is ridiculous, because they just don't give a shit about stuff like that. I mean, the bus industry, I started on buses and coaches. I was driving coaches all over Europe way before, for years. I was having companies tell me, oh no, you haven't got enough experience about jobs, when I was driving through Europe on tours in a full load of people. So yeah, it's just over and over again. This industry has really got to fucking get its arse into gear and start sorting itself out, because this is just a symptom of what's been brewing for years, basically. Yeah, give young drivers a chance. I mean, I've met young drivers, inexperienced drivers, who are fantastic. And I've met drivers that have been driving 34 years that I wouldn't trust with a wheelbarrow. And frankly, this industry is dying on its arse. The average age in this industry is 50 something. It's 55 or something stupid. That's insane. It is lit, and that's not even exaggeration. It is literally dying. So there you go. Top tips from the brain of Wales. If you want to improve the driver shortage situation, improve pay, improve terms and conditions, sort your job out, make people want it. Simple. Done. Good day.